guys, I'm Shayda Campbell, and in tonight's video we're going to work on our hand lettering and illustration with the July calendar page. It's a gorgeous night here in Prince Edward Island, and it's a beautiful July summer day. It's also really buggy, so that is what is going on here. I wanted to apologize because obviously the calendar page is a little late this month, and that's just because I've been so busy with the new gift shop here on the island. If you want to hear about that, I do have a video about it that you can check out. Oh my, okay. And I also will be making some vlogs in the weeks to come just to share a little bit more of my life here on the island with you guys. But there will still be a tutorial every Friday, so don't worry about that. Alright, let's go inside and work on some hand lettering. Okay, so we'll start by going through the process, although I'm going to kind of speed through it because I don't want these videos to get redundant every month. What I'm doing here is I have my grid of numbers and it's on tracing paper, and I'm using transfer paper to transfer it to my 140-pound cold pressed watercolor paper, which is what I make the calendars on. And you can see me doing the same thing for the month. It's on a piece of tracing paper that's taped in the center, and then I just use a bit of transfer paper to transfer my design. And then I'm going over the transfer with my Pigma Micron, and I like to use the 03 or the 05. Those are sort of my Goldilocks, my perfect nibs. And here I'm using the 03 size for sure because I lost my 05, unfortunately. So, but yes, that's what I'm using. And then once that's all done, you get to the fun part. We get to add this month's illustration. And I've done a illustration of a blueberry plant in my sketchbook, and then I took it out of the sketchbook. I extracted it from my sketchbook by using a bit of tracing paper, and then the tracing paper, once I have it on there, I can really see what it's going to look like on the calendar. So I can move it around. I can say, okay, the title Northern Blueberry is up too low or it's up too high, and I can tape it in place exactly where I want it, and then I can transfer it easily with the help of graphite transfer paper. And that's what I'm going to do here. I've placed my transfer paper dark side down onto the watercolor paper, and I'm just going over the entire design with a nice sharp pencil. And I'll just carefully take away the transfer paper there and lift off the tracing paper, and I've got a transferred design. And it looks nice, and now I can sort of finish it up in pencil. If there's any little bits that I want to correct, now is the time that I will do that, sort of seeing, okay, maybe I need to extend my plant over to the right here a little bit, and then I can decide where do I want to put that title, which is Northern Blueberry. And the reason I'm doing blueberry this month is because in St. Peter's Bay here in Prince Edward Island, there's a blueberry festival at the end of July. So I thought this would be a fun little illustration. And as you guys know, I love illustrating plants, so that's what's up. And now what I'm going to do is I'm using watercolor pencil crayons to add a bit of color to my design. And I just chose to use the pencil crayons because I wanted to do these sort of two-tone little leaves, and I thought pencil crayons would offer me the most control. So you can see me going in there with a light green and doing half the leaf, half a leaf here, half a leaf there, and then I grab a darker sort of forest green and I finish up each leaf and add that, that contrast so that I get these very simplified two-tone leaves. I'm also, of course, coloring the blueberries in blue. And what I want you to notice here is that I'm sort of making the bottoms a little bit darker, so just pressing a little harder with my pencil crayon. And then to add shadow, I'm actually going in with a magenta pencil crayon, and I'm just putting a little magenta line across the bottom. And when you're using pencil crayons or watercolor pencil crayons, you can always add shading and depth by using contrasting colors. So if you're shading a banana, you can actually use purple on top of the yellow, so that and that will add that shadow and depth. And you're going to have to play around with it, get a feel for it, but it really does work well. And on the blueberries especially, it adds that sort of that underside where the light wouldn't hit. And of course the complementary or high contrast color that is opposite blue on the color wheel is orange. And you could shade blue with orange, but here I'm using magenta in a similar fashion to add depth. And magenta will actually give it a bit of a purpliness that sort of an overripe blueberry would have. So it's sort of doing double duty in this case. Okay, and then once you're done with the coloring, all you need to do is grab some clean water and a small paintbrush and a little towel for blotting, and you're just going to add water to your design. As I always say, these pencil crayons are just like magic. They turn into watercolor paint as soon as you add a little bit of water, and it's really fun. And then you can actually paint with the paint that sort of comes to life on the page. So you can actually push that paint around and move it and work with it the way you would normal watercolors. And what I've done here is I've just done all the green, and then I've washed my brush and I'm going back in and I'm doing all the blue bits and just trying to keep the design nice and clean and very sort of encyclopedia like. So I just want it to be this very simple and technical almost plant illustration. So I don't want my colors bleeding or blending in any way. And then I'll just finish it up with the little bits of the brown stem, and then I will wait for my design to dry. Now while we're waiting for that to dry, I'm not going to show you exactly how to illustrate a blueberry plant, but I want to talk to you a little about floral or plant illustration. If I'm going to draw something, what I'll do is I'll look it up on Google and I can check, okay, blueberry plant illustration. And then I love to go through and just look at how this plant has been illustrated in times past. So looking at the shape of the leaves and the shape of the berries, and you're going to get very detail oriented here. So this is a good example. If you look at the strawberries or the blackberries, they have these toothy leaves that have a lot of veins on them. And adding details like that to your illustration is really going to elevate it. The blueberry, on the other hand, has these very plain leaves with sort of one vein down the center and clusters of berries. And by picking out a few key details of the blueberry plant, so clusters of berries and simple toothless leaves with no veining basically, I can make the plant any shape or size that I want. And the viewer is going to know and understand it to be a blueberry plant because I've picked out the details that identify it. And then I can make it any shape. If I want to do this long and thin illustration, I can go ahead and do that. If I want to create this bushy blueberry illustration, I can go ahead and do that. That's how I do plant illustration. I just pick out a few details and run with them. And then of course I finish the illustration today by using my Micron 03 pen, and I just put a little bit of black detail, and that's all there is to it. Thanks for watching today, guys. Please don't hesitate to subscribe if you like the video and help me reach 100,000 subscribers. I'm so close. I'll see you next week.